Hey everyone! Today I want to show you how to make this cross stitch ornament. As you can see, I chose a very simplistic pattern, which I'll include details on. It's very simple. If you've never cross stitched before, this would be a great tutorial to follow because I do walk you through it step by step. And I think that by the end of it, if you've never cross stitched before, you're going to want to do a lot more. In order to make this ornament, you're going to need the following. You're going to need some fabric. Now I am using 14 count Aida cloth, but this comes in different counts as well as a different, you don't have to use Aida cloth. Let's see if I can get it zoomed in. That's what Aida cloth looks like close up, but you can use even weave or linen, whatever you prefer to use. I like this especially for beginners if you've never, there's a little piece of fuzz on there. Beginners, if you've never cross stitched before, I find that this is a good starting count to go with. You're going to need an embroidery hoop. This is a 3-inch embroidery hoop. And you can see you unscrew this part and this comes out. And that's how we secure it. You're going to need some floss. Now mine is wrapped up in a on a little holder, but if you buy it, you know, if you're going to buy it for the first time, you're going to be looking for something that looks more like this. But I am using DMC brand 561, that's the number on it, and it's that shade of green there. You can use other brands if that's what you prefer. There are other kinds to have, just if you use whatever you like. I find that DMC is pretty color fast, so that's the reason I like it, because if you're going to wash the final product, you want to make sure that your colors aren't going to bleed. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, and you're going to need a needle. You can usually buy these over where they have the cross stitching supplies. I like one with a wider eye and a slightly more rounded tip, so that way I don't stab myself too much. You're going to need some cord or something to act as your ribbon to turn this into an ornament so you can actually hang it. I had this craft cord, it's just sparkly and I liked it, so I thought it would work well. And then you're going to need your pattern. Now I am doing a tree, obviously, or something that looks like one. And I got this image. I did modify it a little bit, but I got the image from a public domain book called Art Needlework #7 by Henry Hess. I'll put a link. And if you want to, you could just like print screen, save this image. But what I'm going to do is actually make a nicer image for you to go and look at. And you can download it or save it as you want. But that's what we're going to be doing. So you might want to go ahead and do that before or just follow along with me. All right, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you need to do is cut the floss that you're going to use. So the length that you use is, you know, up to you. For this project, I'm not going to go more than, that's maybe 18 inches, but you can go down to as much or as little as you want. So go ahead and cut that. Now, just in case, you know, you are a beginner, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you this. So if you're not, you know, kind of tune me out for a couple seconds. But when you get embroidery floss, it's actually made up of 6 strands. Well, this embroidery floss is made up of 6 strands. Okay, so you can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab 2 of them. You're going to separate that. Hopefully without getting it tangled. You're going to get 2 of them. And we're going to separate that out of the rest. If it wants to tangle up on itself, if you just kind of pull it, it should untangle. So I have separated 2 of the strands, and I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle. And now you can start working. The way you do this is going to, of course, depend on what you prefer to do. A lot of people will have you go ahead and put your fabric into your frame. It acts to tension it. Since this project is so small, I'm not going to put my fabric into the hoop until I'm done. But if you want to, you can. Just whatever is more comfortable to you. I just find with working with something this small, it's just a little easier if I don't have it in the hoop. But again, that's me. All right, so what we're gonna do is, if you want to, you could go ahead and find the middle. You can either do it by folding or by counting, whatever you are comfortable with doing. Since this image is so small, I'm not gonna worry about it because the fabric I'm using is large for the project, so I think I'll have plenty of space. But what I'm gonna do is go find the middle widthwise and go down about 2 inches or so and insert the needle into one of the spaces and pull it out. Now what I'm going to do is grab the back of the floss with my fingers just to hold it so it doesn't pull through. But then you are going to insert your needle diagonally across and pull. Then I'll turn it over, and you're going to want to leave about a 1/2 inch or so. You can leave a little less if you're more comfortable with that, but in the beginning I always left way too much. I just didn't want to accidentally have problems. Then take your floss and wrap it like this. Kind of use your finger to hold that down and insert your needle in the space above that strand where the big strand is coming from, and where your end go to the right there. You don't always have to look in the back, but you'll want to in the beginning. Now be careful to make sure that the end falls in between that, so that way we're catching it with that strand. Okay, and now that's what the front looks like. Now we're going to go back, and we're making the X. So you go diagonally back that way. And you've got your first X. Now, you can see from the pattern that we have at the very top, we have 1, 2, 3 that are going to be just by themselves, that are a single line. So what we're going to do is bring up the needle into the space right here. Let's see, there we go, little space right here. If you need to look back there, look behind it, just make sure you're going the right spot, you can. But before you pull it all the way through, we're going to grab this again and make it go back in there. So with your fingers, open that up. And what I will usually do is just take the needle and go under that, hold that with my hand, and then pull. And pull the yarn. And that, there we go. I have to pull it just a little tight. But that way it catches that going back the other way. It's just securing it a little bit more. And there's a hair. Okay, now we're going to do another, go across diagonally. And then we're going to come up in the space directly below that hole. And again, we want to catch the floss from the end. So bring that over and pull. And that's really about all you need to do to make sure it's secure. You can do more if you want, but I think that should be okay for now. And now to complete the cross stitch, to work all the way back, we are going to insert our needle right there. Okay, and then we're going to do one more stitch below that one. Nope. You will do that. You will bring your needle up in the wrong spot all of the time, unless you're turning over to look and see where you're going. You eventually get the feel of it, but it's a little awkward with me holding it up in the air like this. All right, so there we go. Okay, now the next round, you can see it has 3. So there's 1 on either side of this mid bar there. So we are going to bring our needle up right here into that there. So 1, 2, 3. Now just go ahead and say this. Be careful. Sometimes the floss will want to twist and knot on itself, so just make sure you keep an eye on it. I usually can tell, like if my finger is back there, I can sort of feel if it's starting to knot, but you'll want to pay attention. And if your floss gets too twisted, and it might, what you do is you take your work and you turn it like this, you raise it up and you let that dangle, and it'll untwist. And as long as you have it folded back, like your floss folded back enough, it shouldn't go flying across the room. But might want to do it on a table just to just to double check. Okay, now we're going to do, instead of working one individually, we are going to work partial stitches across and then finalize them on the way back. So we go up to the diagonal stitch there, or to the diagonal corner. And we are again going to bring the stitch up, or the needle up, below that space, below that hole. And instead of going back this way, we are going to go this way and go diagonal again. And then bring the needle up below that. And do it again. Now you see you've got 3 diagonal bars that represent the 3 stitches that you're going to do. So to finalize them all, bring your needle up again. And now we are going to work back. Go below the same stitch. The same stitch that you, or the same hole that you had worked before. Now when you go to the pattern, you can see that there are 2 singles. The good thing about this pattern is there is always like a mid line, so you're always going to be following down that line and just doing a number, a different number on the outside. But we have 2 in between all of these horizontal bars, so that'll be easy to remember. So there's 2. So we're going to bring the needle up right here in the middle. That's what my back looks like right now. So you can see that's the line going down. Then we're going to make just a single stitch, a single cross. And again, right below it. Okay. Now when your floss starts to get close, like where you've got it folded over, you go ahead and just pull your needle a little bit, so that way you have a little bit more that you can work without ending up with 4 strands. For the next row, you can see that we have 4 on both the left and the right of the center. So go ahead and just find out where where you need to put your needle. If you need to count it, you can. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now if you turn it over, you can see that that bar is a little long, that strand is a little long. What you need to do though is make sure that when you are working over, like across the way this way, that you're not splitting the floss. And what I mean is just bringing you don't want to bring the needle in between the strands, since you've got 2 strands held together. You can see I brought it up to the right of that. But that's probably, if I'd had a problem, that's where it would be. You can always just check. Okay, and just keep working around. Okay, we're almost to the end of our floss that I've got cut. So we'll do that stitch. I could probably do a little bit more, but because we're coming up on a longer bar, I'll go ahead and just stop it for now. Since we're at the end, now we need to secure it. There are different ways to do it. You can try to work it back underneath the stitches that you've done, and you can see it sort of looks a little bit like a Christmas tree on the side. It's kind of interesting. But what I'm going to do is just go ahead and work it right under this bar here, and then we're going to make a knot. Again, this is the way that I was taught. You know, I mentioned that my aunt is the one that taught me how to cross stitch, so I'm sure there's probably neater, more official ways to do it, but that's what I do, at least when I'm closing it. And then we're going to knot it one more time. Okay. Go ahead and pull your needle off, and then take your scissors, and you're going to cut close. There we go. Okay. Now you need your next piece of floss. So I still have this. I'm going to get another 2 strands out. So basically I'm just splitting it in half at this point since there's 6 total. And now there's 4. And then there will be 2. Just smooth it out. Then I usually line them up so that way they start out at the same length, and smooth it down. They get kind of twisted when you take them out. And then thread your needle. Okay, now we're ready to get started again. Once you start working out a little bit further from the middle, it can get, you know, you want to maybe double check what you're doing. I like to use reference points. So we know that it's going to be, you know, we're obviously going to be starting 1 row below this. And then if you look, if you went down from here, it's 1 over. So that's usually once I get to something that's a little bit more complicated, that's just how I make reference to it. So we'll go down, and then we go down from there, and then 1 over. Okay. And we're going to, of course, just do long rows of the single threads for a little bit. But we're going to secure it very similar, except we're not going to be switching rows. Just make sure that the floss stays in between there. See? And just keep doing that as you work your stitches. And now I will point out, because I know that like there's a good chance that you will accidentally bring your floss up in the wrong spot. So I want to show you how that's done and how to fix it. Okay, so normally I would bring up my floss or my needle right here, okay, in that hole. But what happens if maybe the thread is over a little bit and you end up going in the middle, which I'm gonna have to force it. There we go. So let's say you end up completely in somewhere, like just a random space. I'm actually gonna have to create it because it's not gonna work. There we go. This is pretty. The weave on this is kind of, it's pretty good. So, but what if I ended up going there? And let's just pretend that I don't catch it. So I just keep going. And then I'm like, oh no, that doesn't look right. Here's what you do. Just take your needle off. And then you're just gonna bring that back. Just use your needle to sort of act to pull it out. Then we're gonna do the same for the back side. And I was all good there, so I can go ahead and rethread the needle. And then just make sure that your floss, you know, doesn't have any big bunches or anything in it. Okay. And then now just make sure that you go in the right spot. Okay. Make sure that's covered, and it is. Just keep going. Okay, I just want to point out something because I know that this could be an issue for some people. Some people have rules about how long they want to make before they break it off and go to the next one. But for this project, because it's so small, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm okay if it has longer bars that reach across. I just have to be more careful when I'm working into the stitches, but that's fine. And actually, I kind of like the way it looks. But it's up to you. If you wanted to break that before starting the next row, you could have. Just tie it and then start again. But I'm just going to keep going. But I thought you might want to know that just in case. If you've cross-stitched before, you are probably cringing. But that's just what I'm going to do. It's an ornament, and I'm okay with it. And I like the little diagonal lines that it's making on the outside. Now it's time to grab some more floss. Okay, so I have finished the stitching, and now all that's left to do is to knot it, tie off. There we go. I'm just gonna knot. And I realized I grabbed, it's the same color floss, but I had, from where I had used it before, it was longer than the other piece that I cut this time though. I was wondering why I hadn't run out. I figured I should have by now. Go ahead. Now I do see that one came a little loose, and I'll show you how to fix that. But if you're going to have those issues, and sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, what you do is just work your needle under a couple of these stitches. It's kind of hard. You don't want to get it under the cloth. Well, there's one. You just go like that too. And then for the one that came loose, it just came loose a little bit, I'll work it underneath that. And since it's kind of short, I'll just work it, I'll put the needle under first and then thread that and pull through. Now you have your finished cross stitch project. At this point, I would go ahead and date it. If you put your initials on it or something like that, you can do that. All you do is just a back stitch, which is pretty simple to do. But for this, I'm not going to do that because it's an ornament and I just don't want it on that. I kind of want it just to be just the item. I did want to mention, just in case anyone has questions, I know it goes, you know, 1, 2, 4. I know that. That was how the original pattern was, and I just thought it was really cute, and I like the way it kind of comes down and the shape it makes. Now, normally you would wash this. It loosens up the fabric, it makes it all more even, and you'll be able to tell like if it's going to bleed or if any of the floss is going to come out, and if you have to rework it. For this video, I'm not going to do that first, but if you are, I usually hand wash them and I use a gentle detergent. You can use like Mrs. Meyer's, or just, I tend to use anything that's that doesn't have any dyes in it because I just don't want anything to accidentally stain the fabric. Okay, I put the hoop on and I realized the camera was not recording. Once you have your fabric ready to go, so you can see I've got the outline there. That's why. It's because I already had it on the hoop. Once you have your fabric ready to go, you will take your hoop and take it apart. And you'll need to be careful. If you're using the woodwoods, these will snap if you're not very careful with it. You're going to go ahead and just hold that behind there. And then center your hoop. Like, make sure that it's where you want it to be. And then I'm going to make sure that this is not perfectly lined up, because when you do, it won't, this is not going to be all the way closed when you have it around the fabric too. So you'll want to just kind of widen it just a little bit, and then use your fingers to press it in like that. Okay. Then take the screw and put it back in. Yours may have a different closing mechanism, but okay, and we're going to start to tighten it. But make sure you pull that tight. You want this to be tight. And then just keep tightening it until it's good and secure. I'm trying to make sure that all your wrinkles get out. Okay. Once that's good, make sure it's ready to go and you don't have to undo it or anything like that. You will want to trim the excess fabric. Now you can there's a few different things you can do. I am going to just cut it and leave it sort of raw because it's tight and it's an ornament, and I'm okay with that. But if you want to, you can fold it down, trim off some of the corners. You can fold it down. And I've seen a lot of people do this with other ones that I've received and everything. You can trim it down. And then what some people will do is they will take fabric or more of this, and they'll actually just glue it to the outside. Personally, I like it better when you I think it looks better on my tree if I just cut the excess as close as possible. But you want to make sure that you have figured out your placement yet, because you don't want to end up having to take that out. trim it up if you need to some more. I'm okay with how this looks. If you want, you can put ribbon, you can glue ribbon down, but I think it actually looks okay. It's not too frayed or anything, so I'm okay with it. Once you have your cross stitch on the hoop, you're going to need to grab your cord, and we're going to make the loop that goes around your tree. You can do this in a few different ways, but I'm just going to do it in what I consider the most simple of ways. And I'm just going to tie it. So I'm just going to thread that through there. Make it the height that I want. And then just make a bow. And then you can adjust it, because I want that to be tighter. Just pull tight. And then you can trim the little bow ends. Just make sure you don't accidentally cut the wrong parts. And there you have it. You've got your cross stitch ornaments. Isn't it so cute? I don't know. There's something about having cross stitch on your tree. Maybe it's the combination of the fabric with the frame and all of that, but I just really, really like the way it looks. And of course it has that sort of traditional circle shape as well. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you make this, please, please, please tell me about it. I want to know. I want to see how you guys do. My aunt taught me how to cross stitch when I was fairly young, and it was the first craft I ever learned, like, that I wasn't taught in school. And it really kind of got the ball rolling on all the stuff that I do. It makes me very happy, and I want to share that with you. All right, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you guys are having a good one, and I will see you all next time. Bye!